How's everybody doing today? This is Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks. I wanted to do one last video on Lavar Ball and the ZO2 for now. It's kind of a part two to one I did last week about overcharging Black America. But more so what I want to talk about is the anatomy of a sneaker and the reality of what we're actually seeing, whether it's a microloan, a donation, or an actual sale. You know, everybody's framing this thing as though he's in competition with Nike and that he's selling shoes. My argument would be that he's not actually selling shoes, that he's doing a microloan model or even a donation model, and I'll explain that in a second. But before I get there, let's just go back over what we're talking about. This is Lavar Ball and Lonzo Ball, supposed to be a top draft pick, and essentially Lavar Ball has come out with a shoe for his son, the ZO2, and that shoe, you know, essentially he set the price point at $500. That's after being rejected by Nike, Under Armour, and Adidas on a branding deal, and he decided to distribute it on his own. Brought about a whole fervor amongst particularly African Americans of black business and black ownership, and nobody really questioned what he owns. The way that Black America has approached this largely in my discussions, in my review, is as though he has a factory. Like he's a small shoemaker, or he actually has a factory. And the reality and the consequence of like black life is he doesn't have a factory, and none of us have the factory to make this shoe. That is what blackness is. And like, I think for a lot of African Americans, this is a great visual to understand how to avoid changing in a white super capitalist for a black super capitalist that does it even worse than the white super capitalist. When I said does it, I mean exploits you even worse. So let's look at this thing from an aspect of what actually occurred in terms of sales over the weekend. What we saw is that he sold about 300 shoes. Initially, everybody was in a fervor. He sold 4,000 shoes, and that's $2 million. And even then, I don't think people understood that he needed to sell many more shoes than 4,000 to actually be in play. But he actually sold 300 shoes. I'm pulling up the article now that shows you he sold 300 shoes, and it's in question whether he even sold 300, because 150 of them were like size 8.5 in one transaction. So everybody wants to know whether that was fraud or not, and that'll be taken out. So he sold somewhere between 150 and 300 shoes. It's just not enough shoes of different sizes. What you're seeing right now is the reality, as I said in a prior video, of what happens when you don't have scale. What happens is, forget that, when you don't have a factory. And let's go even further, when you don't make shoes and you say, I'm going to make a shoe. And I think that so many people don't really see, and I'm pulling up the sneaker anatomy of a Nike shoe so we can talk about this for a second. I want you to understand the cost on a Nike shoe, the breakdown. So if you look, it takes Nike about $21 to actually create the shoe. They make $5 after everything's said and done. They make money on quantity, on scale, not on just margins, on making the margins whatever they set. You know, you have a quote from Lonzo Ball, how'd you get to your price? I just made it up. I'm the owner. None of it works that way. And I think that what you also see, bringing this shoe back up, is the large bulk of it, of this $100 price point that Nike sets, quote unquote, or Finish Line or Foot Locker sets, is the retailer themselves. The end retailer actually, you know, is $50 of the $100 cost. That's what allows you to have the return policies. That's what allows you to have the great policies of trying them on in the store and put them in the box. Because after so many people try them on, if nobody buys them, they begin to look used even before they're sold. And they have to discard that merchandise or put it on clearance. He has none of that at his disposal. And I think that for us as African Americans, we so bad want to see somebody in business that we don't understand when we don't see business. And that's what we see right here. The shoe business is very simple. You walk into a store. You physically try the shoe on. You decide whether you want to buy the shoe. Touch, feel, everything else. Jump up and down. Then you go to the register and buy the shoe. Then if you don't want the shoe, you can still bring it back if you haven't walked outside. You don't share in the risk of the production of that shoe. You don't give them $100, $200, or in this case $500 or $700 for size 14 and 15, and they possibly give you a shoe in 6 months. That's not your job in the sale of a shoe. That's the shoe business right now. And so, like, I think that what we're doing here is giving him space to be a businessman that he isn't. And I'm not giving that by opinion. I'm telling you, there's components to selling shoes, and he has none of them. You haven't seen like him sitting next to a bunch of boxes of shoes because he doesn't have the shoes. He has one pair of shoes. That's what I largely believe. He has one pair of shoes. And he's been taking pictures of it, doing videos with it. He's been using that one pair of shoes to make it seem like he has a business. And what he's actually doing, and this is how we'll get into what I consider a microloan. And this is a practice whereby somebody loans you, a bunch of people loan you a small amount of money, and then essentially you use that to start your business. Now, what's interesting about this dynamic is that I could get behind the fervor that African Americans have if, for in some way, he was actually doing the right thing, giving them some ownership in the company. You should. I mean, you're investing $500 in an unknown product by an unknown company, and you'll get it in an unknown amount of time. You should get a nice little share of the company for giving him $500 this early. Now, that would be genius, and it would be so powerful for Black America if he did that. But he's not doing that. He's telling you, I'm going to treat you just like Nike. Actually, I'm going to treat you worse because I'm going to charge you way more for a product you've never seen and give it to you when I want to give it to you. Sometime maybe around December. Late November, Thanksgiving weekend's real hard to meet, so it's probably going to be first week of December maybe. And if it folds, that's what you don't understand. If this business folds, you don't have recourse. You don't get to go down to a physical brick and mortar and make a claim. You got to go after BBB, Lavar Ball, and find him and try to get your $500. As an attorney, I'll tell you, you probably won't get it back. And so, like, I think for us, coming back to it, we don't understand that what he's really doing, in my view, is a microloan. He's asking for you to loan him $500 to make you a shoe when he's never made shoes before. And you're jumping on board on a simple premise that he's a black guy, or I don't know. Because it's not like you've seen the shoe and you really want the shoe and it's just an exclusive shoe. Everybody's made this comparison to Louis Vuitton, to different products like Versace. Well, you know the quality of their product. And in many cases, you actually can go down to the store and actually physically feel the product you want and then have them build out what you want. This isn't that, so stop comparing it to that. The other thing that I see is that a lot of people are trying to contrast this to trying to make this a sale. What I more so see than even a microloan is that this is a donation model. You know, people have said Kickstarter and things, those are donations though. Largely like a donation model. And essentially what do I mean? I think this is a process of you donating $500 and he gives you a complimentary product and you got to just take it as it comes. You got to understand this shoe, as I'm pulling up right now, has no refunds, no exchanges. And you get it in 6 months whenever. Understand what that means, like in context of how we buy shoes today and how the shoe market is really tight. When I say that, I mean it's highly competitive and high quality products are delivered at a low price point right now. I'll give you an example. Less than 3 days ago, I bought this shoe. It's a Nike Hyper Dunk. I bought it from DD's, a discount shoe store. I bought these shoes. Nike Hyper Dunk. I bought these shoes for $39 plus tax. I went in, I sat down, I tried them on, and I walked right out with the shoe. What he's saying is, instead of buying this shoe, give me $500 for a shoe you've never seen, and I'll give it to you in 6 months. And that's just not business. The only way that I would be willing to do that, or any of you are willing to do that, is because you're donating to his cause of some sort. But understand this. You're giving $500 to a man who has a son that's about to be a millionaire. And the middle black family's worth $1,700. For me, that's a major problem. That's kind of why I do these videos, just kind of waking you to the hustle. And I feel like this is a hustle. Not just because, like, this would all work if he actually made shoes, like, for a while now, and then essentially his son went to the league, and he just wants to make his own son's shoe, and Nike's not hearing that. You know, if this was like Byron Allen, that's a great example. Byron Allen makes shows, and, like, Comcast and Time Warner didn't want to let him do business, and essentially they shut him out, and he sued them for that. And you know, he makes shows, though. That's not what we're seeing here. I need us to be able to tell the difference between good black business and bad black business, and not call all black business business. So that's all I wanted to do today, is kind of break this thing down a little bit more and have you understand. This isn't a sale of a shoe. This is either a microloan with no return to you of ownership, or a donation. And I hope your shoes come out right. Thank you for tuning in to Tone Talks.